I think we kind of all agree on this one. It was just I was first on the spreadsheet to say Cody Rhodes losing in the main event of WrestleMania 39. Look, I think everyone at WrestleMania 39 and watching at home thought this could be one of the best shows ever. Like, you've had these phenomenal matches across both nights. You've had obviously the big tag team title win to close out night one, and then it felt like everything was finally coming together to crown Cody Rhodes the new world champion, finally overcoming Roman Reigns. You had obviously Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens coming out to help Cody, chasing off the Usos, and then a hooded Solo Sikoa reappeared. Samoan Spike to Cody, spear, 1, 2, 3. Rubber chicken. What the hell are we doing? Yeah, it went down like a fart in a lift. There were still some fans arguing that they were still fans of Roman, wanting him to win. It just felt like everything was perfectly in position for Cody to win at that time. And I, at the time, said, well, if they don't do it now, they'd better do it at SummerSlam. They're not doing that, but they're completely vindicated in that decision because he's going to win the title at WrestleMania 40. And actually, I've realised that wasn't the most disappointing moment of 2023, because it's going to be the most satisfying of 2024. So, well done, Papa H.
Single most disappointing thing to happen in wrestling in 2023. I'm sure I'm forgetting lots of stuff. You know, you watch a lot of wrestling, you can't keep it all in your brain. And obviously a lot of the other WhatCulture guys always take the one that you want to go in there. The stupid Google Excel sheet is there. You're like, I wanted to talk about that, and you throw your toys out the pram like a child. I think I'll go with Keith Lee versus Swerve Strickland, never happening. I really enjoyed that feud, and I thought they were kind of at the same level at the time, in the sense Keith Lee is way better than he was being, not presented at the time. He just needed more time on television, and we've seen what Swerve done in 2023. Like, they're main event players. So I was like, well, maybe we can create like an explosion of wonder, and both of them can use that as a jumping off point to something else. And let's not forget that Swerve and his boys did smash in Keith Lee's face with a cinder block. Now, that goes on the crime counter if you watch Ups and Downs, but also that would like kill a man. So Keith Lee probably deserved to get his revenge. Now, as I am saying these words, Keith Lee just had that match with Samoa Joe, so hopefully that's getting him back into the mix. And Swerve Strickland is absolutely killing it, to the point he should be champion in 2024, or a champion, international or TNT, hopefully world, but wait and see. But no, I was disappointed by that, because I bought into the feud, and it was that kind of thing where AEW felt like they forgot about it for a little bit, or they just didn't have time to fit it in, but then they go back and they tease it a bit, like, okay, it's coming, and then it would go away again, and they tease it again, like, oh, it's coming. To the point, here we are in, what is it, December, January, November, I don't know, and you can't do it now unless you're going to double back down. But we probably missed the mark. That makes me a sad panda. Can't lie, makes me a sad panda.
2022, we finally got rid of this old rapey prick. Can I say that? Is that okay? Is that fine? I don't know. Right. That's fine.
Allegedly, yeah.
And then he buggers off, retires, whatever the hell they want to call it. And then behind the scenes, he just goes and wangles his way into some business bollocks to try and sell WWE, and then gets the only person that could possibly buy WWE that would then allow him to come back into WWE to wangle his way back into the goddamn company. The only thing that can make this okay is if all of his wangling behind the scenes to try and get back into the company just ends up with him having to sell his own company and then immediately getting ousted out of his own company by the new people who said he would bring him in the first place. That's the only thing that can make this okay, because having him back in wrestling is not good for anything.
CM Punk getting his dumb ass fired from AEW. That's how I'm choosing to frame this, because it's the truth. Wrestling television is better with CM Punk on it, for sure. You can dislike the stuff behind the scenes, you can dislike the rumour cycle, you can dislike the constant this, that and the next thing. You can make the very fair point that, yeah, it's probably not a good thing to work with someone who might punch you in the face over a disagreement about a fake sport. Yeah, I mean, that's a very fair stance. But for me as a consumer, as a viewer, professional wrestling is just infinitely more interesting when this guy, who probably can't be trusted at this stage, is knocking about. And look, he got himself fired. It's not the Elite being soft or whatever silly stuff people are saying online. It's not Tony Khan doing this, that and the next thing. He got himself fired, man. He got in backstage fights with multiple people, including members of the management team. He made enemies of half the roster. He's always struck me as the kind of guy who, if he likes you, he'll be your best friend for life until you slight him even once, and then that's it, you're done. And that played out during the course of his AEW run. So I dearly wish he was still around in AEW, because I do believe that that is the environment that best suits his abilities. Perhaps he's already in WWE again by the time this comes out.
Yep.
But for me, I have not felt as let down in pro wrestling as far as things that have been there and have been taken away. Right, rather than, you know, some of the other entries on this video are very valid, and I completely agree. But this was really deflating as a fan. I wish he'd held it together for longer, because I absolutely love the guy as a performer.
I'm going to be that person. The worst moment of this year is All Elite Wrestling hiring Ric Flair. I know you probably might be bored of hearing about this. As I record this now, we're only a few weeks out, but all the guys in the office have pretty much had their chance to talk about it in podcasts and news videos. So I'm going to take this one and let them take a rest from this horrible situation. And yeah, I'm not going to be adding any new 2 cents. I'm on the same side as everyone else online in the gigantic ew, what really. AEW has unfortunately declined in quality over the last couple of years, certainly, but this was a real moment of unification online where everybody turned their head and stuck their nose up and went, what on earth are you doing? Especially in the wake of Tony Khan making comments about how gross Vince was and the allegations, and then hiring Rick, probably the only guy in wrestling that has more issues in that regard. Yeah, unfortunately, just kind of disgusting and weird, and so against what we all thought AEW was, to pivot into this really shallow marketing decision was just massively disappointing. So there are bad matches and bad storylines, but this one cuts through it all for me as just, yeah, like a gross business decision, which in the long run, as I say, we're only a few weeks into this multi-year deal with Ric Flair. Who knows where this is going to go? I can't believe it's a multi-year thing. This could go anywhere, but yeah, immediate, thoughts on it is, it sucks.
It's not getting this. This, I think, is a picture of Kenny Omega in a singles match. But it could be him in a trios match, it could be him in a tag match, it could be him not doing what Kenny Omega does best, which is having incredible singles matches in incredible settings. We've seen classics at Wrestle Kingdom, and we should have had one this year at All In at Wembley Stadium. I think there is another day for Kenny Omega wrestling at Wembley Stadium in a singles match, but it should have been the first one. It opened up a massive divide between the Brits and the Yanks over which show was more important, like that mattered. It opened up this conversation about whether or not Kenny Omega in a trios match was part of a story that apparently had carried over from New Japan, which it hadn't. And it kind of reminded you that AEW simply doesn't see All In, the show that we were all excited for, maybe as this tentpole event that we all did. All Out was 1 week later, and that's where he was going to fight Konosuke Takeshita. Look, it wasn't even the Takeshita singles match that I wanted, it was just Kenny Omega being the best possible version of Kenny Omega, not one of 3 on the second match on the card. There will be other days for great Kenny Omega singles matches that I'm sure some of us will be privileged enough to be able to attend, but there was only ever one first, and Kenny Omega not being on that stage in the first opportunity to shine on AEW's, to that point and probably ever, biggest stage seems like one of the biggest wastes to this day.
And especially having to follow that 3.5-star match between Punk and Joe.
Well, yes indeed, you had to follow the best bout machine, didn't you?
So my biggest wrestling disappointment of 2023 is, well, it's a bit of a weird one because it's mixed in with one of the best moments for me of 2023, and that was of course this show, All In, on my chest. I don't know if it's backwards or forwards, I don't know, but that is the show it happened at, because I was sat there, I was watching this epic moment in time, really, not just in my life, just in wrestling history, going down. I think MJF and Adam Cole just retained the tag titles, or won the tag titles, I can't remember at this point, but there was a big kind of euphoric atmosphere going on. CM Punk and Samoa Joe just had a classic, in my opinion, and things were going pretty well. I think I was on my first pint, I was having a good old time, and then I went to get my second pint, and I checked my phone, because obviously I wasn't really looking at my phone during all this wrestling madness and awesomeness that was going down. And then when I looked at it, it said something about a certain Mr. Phil Brooks clashing with someone backstage, and that someone was, of course, Jack Perry. And my mind just suddenly went, great, we've got another one of these on this night of all nights. And of course, it eventually got confirmed, and it was just one of those things. I was like, just going, how has this happened tonight? This huge, massive show, just one of the best moments in AEW history, really, and it's gone down tonight, and it just put this little cloud over the rest of the show for me. Obviously, it was still awesome, it was still epic, it's still probably one of the best nights of my whole damn life, but you just had this feeling that in the aftermath of all this, there was going to be, well, things were going to be a bit bittersweet, weren't they? Because there was going to be a lot of attention on Punk, and it was going to probably slightly overshadow such a monumental night, and it was, it gives me all kind of mixed emotions now when I look back at All In, because I loved it. It was just an absolute, I've said it a lot, but it was just a classic night, wasn't it? But this Punk stuff, it just stuck with me. It stuck with me, and then eventually it all led to his exit, and it's just one of those painful pills to swallow. So hopefully next year there's no controversy in Wembley, or I'm just deciding that I'm never going to go to Wembley and watch wrestling ever again because I must be cursed.
The fate of AEW Collision and what that says about AEW in general as it just descends further into this content form era. I was never like the biggest proponent of Collision when it first debuted. I thought it was very good, very stripped back. I liked how live everything was. I liked how slow and elegant almost everything was. But I did think like every 7 and 8 main event, that's as long as Punk lasted, went on an extra 10 minutes, like longer than necessary. And now that the Punk is gone and Bryan Danielson's injury record doesn't really position him as the guy who can take that mantle and be the appointment viewing, that elusive premium, the only time you get to see an all-time great is on Saturday or on Sunday morning. It's just gone. It feels like content form stuff. There's a lot of in-action matches. I still think a lot of the main events just go on 8 minutes longer than they have any reasonable right to do so. If you recall, I think it was Big Bill and Ricky Starks versus Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. Like, I don't want to watch AEW, which was sold to me on the promise of premium weekly television and quarterly pay-per-views, just wondering like how long are they getting the heat on Yuta here? It's taking about 10 freaking minutes. It just feels inessential. It's a symptom of this content form era, and ultimately I just cannot be arsed with Collision at all. And I think the biggest way I can really put this across is that AEW Dynamite for me was the show that saved professional wrestling in the United States of America. In sort of bleak contrast, AEW Collision is the show I quite enjoy but could miss happily with a hot drink, with a nice coffee on a Sunday morning. They're just not the same.
The biggest disappointment of 2023 for myself is that we did not get Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness at AEW All In from Wembley Stadium. There is also disappointment there that despite having a ticket for the show, I could not get there myself because of rail strikes, but that's a whole other topic. But in terms of McGuinness and Danielson, by all accounts, this is a match that was going to happen until the American Dragon went and broke his arm in that fantastic match against Kazuchika Okada at Forbidden Door in June, and that was not enough time by August 27th of All In to have recovered from that. Now, there'd been rumours of this match happening, and then since then we've seen McGuinness has taken to social media to show himself in probably the best shape of his life, of his career, and in new gear. That what was the caption he put? Something like, in another universe, and it's like, it was right there, and these two have just got such a history. Hopefully we'll get this match in 2024, to be honest. I think that that is currently the plan, I'd imagine. But yeah, it was right there. I mean, the history between the two, that just these long-time rivals going back to Glory by Honor 8 in 2009, Bryan Danielson's final match in Ring of Honor. Everybody come out against McGuinness. Everybody come out to the ring. Everybody had left. The one person left in the ring with Bryan, Nigel McGuinness. You've got the matches they had, the pure title matches and the world title matches, unification match, the match in Liverpool, that one, the 2 out of 3 falls matches. The fact they have both defended the ROH world title against each other. It's just one of modern wrestling's greatest rivalries, and we nearly got to revisit it. McGuinness has said he can wrestle if he wants, and one more match against Bryan Danielson would be one hell of a way to end his in-ring career on his own terms. So yeah, we've still got All In 2024. Get those fingers, those toes, other crossable body parts crossed, because this is something I really want to see. I'm sure it's something you really want to see. So let's will it into existence. or just, get behind it and support it, because it's probably already in existence.